Hello everyone. We are the team Data Defenders, and I'm here with my team members, Charles, Chizoba, Peace, and Sushant. Today we'll be doing a case study analysis on a cybersecurity breach that happened at the Canada Revenue Agency (CRA) and Employment and Social Development Canada (ESDC). We'll be analyzing the incident response and drawing key lessons for future cybersecurity practices. So what happened was in July 2020, both the CRA and ESTC experienced cybersecurity breach through a credential stuffing attack. These incidents compromised personal and financial information of thousands of Canadians, and the attacker used this information to apply for a fraudulent benefit from the government. Um, and for the next part, we'll be uh, criticizing on the response planning phases. We'll be rating them out of 10. So for the preparation phase, we rated them 2 out of 10 because we could see that the preparation phase was inadequate because both the agency underestimated authentication requirement to protect the sensitive data. They only had single factor authentication implemented during the time of the breach, which was a critical security flaw, and security assessment were insufficient, leaving vulnerabilities undetected. On the detection phase, we rated them 3 out of 10 because the detection effort was significantly delayed. The attack began on July 10, but it wasn't detected until August 7. So it was around like a month of time. So during this month-long delay, it allowed extensive accounts to be compromised. And in terms of containment and eradication, we rated them 5 and 6 respectively. The containment effort was gradual but eventually effective. The system misconfiguration prolonged the attack effectiveness, and the multi-factor authentication was implemented only after the breach. And some vulnerabilities was persistent even after the initial countermeasures was deployed. For the recovery phases, we rated them 7 out of 10 because they showed some commitment to improve. The affected individuals were notified and were offered support services like free credit monitoring. The government also allocated roughly $330 million for over 5-year term to enhance their cybersecurity. And for the next part, Chizoba will take over.
Thank you, Sushan. So for the analysis we did, so we're able to, come up with some prevention and detection techniques. But first, I'm going to be giving a brief definition of what the threat type, which is credential stuffing attack, is. So credential stuffing is a type of cyber attack where attackers use stolen username and password combination from previous data breaches to gain unauthorized access to user accounts on other systems. This attack exploits the common user behavior of reusing password across multiple accounts. So we highlighted some key characteristics of this credential stuffing attack, which were large-scale automation, exploitation of password reuse, bypass of security measures, and then talking about the prevention and the detection techniques. So on the part of CRA, so they have some shortcomings on that aspect. So for the prevention techniques, so there were some weak authentication, which both agencies relied on the single factor authentication, which was insufficient given the sensitive of the data that was involved. And then secondly, the insufficient security assessment, the outdated security configuration. And then for the detection techniques, so on the part of CRA and ESDC, so there was also delayed threat detection, which indicated inadequate real-time monitoring system. And then there was also poor interdepartmental communication. There was limited information sharing between departments, which hindered the rapid detection and the response of the whole attack. So I'm going to be handing over to Charles to tell us more about the attack vectors.
Thank you very much, Isabel. So, talking about the attack vector, the technique used by the attackers is a technique that Chizuba clearly explained, which is the credential stuffing. So, how the attackers use this technique to how the attackers use this technique is they go the credentials of most of the users on the CRA platform from the dark web because it was being sold over there due to a data breach that had happened initially. So the hackers got access to the credentials of over 40,000 users, and then by the use of bots, they started to access these credentials to try to log into these accounts. So then they initially logged into about 20,000 accounts to be sure, and then they started to log into more accounts, creating new accounts, doing identity thefts and what's not. Just because they had access to the accounts, they were able to go through all these exploits and then do cause fraudulent activities on the CIA platform. Also, one thing about credential stuffing is that it borders heavily on the fact that most users use the same password or the singular password for multiple accounts or multiple platforms, which is highly unsafe because once these credentials are leaked or breached, they can be used to access your accounts all over. And so this was something that the uh, attackers bagged on, and it paid off when they were able to access the accounts of the users. One way to mitigate this is by educating users on the need to have unique passwords for each of their accounts. There are softwares that can be used. There's the password manager that users can use to manage their passwords. There's also multi-factor authentication, which basically is how it ensures that there's a double authorization before a user gets access to an account. So if this is in place, it ensures that no one can access your account without a second authorization. And this was something that was not in place, making it easy for the attackers to use credential stuffing to infiltrate the system. Moving on to the vulnerability, we want to talk about one key vulnerability. The primary vulnerability for this system or for this attack was the inadequate or was the system misconfiguration. So we found out that the CRE, their management system software that they ran had a misconfiguration that dated back to about 20 months ago. And what this happens is that when a user logs in onto the CRA system or the CRA website, he has the option to choose 1 out of 5 questions and answer this question. If it's a new system, he has to choose a security question and then answer before he proceeds. But for because of this vulnerability or this misconfiguration, the attackers were able to bypass this security question and input their credentials and then log on to the system or the accounts of the users, which was a very big issue because there was no validation whatsoever. They just put in the account details and then they got access to the system. One way that this can be mitigated is by ensuring that there are regular patches on your software or the system that you are using. You can also call in a third-party cybersecurity organization to perform pen testing and auditing to make sure that your systems are all robust and up to date. Because this happened and then they had no idea. So having a third party also coming to perform checks helps you to review and know if there's something that is not working right. So I'm going to hand over to Peace to talk about the overall rating and then some recommendations that we came out with. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Charles. We recommend the implementation of proactive threat detection system. Organization must establish rapid response protocol, conduct regular security audit and penetration testing, and also enforce stronger authentication measures immediately. Some lessons learned from this attack is that single-factor authentication is insufficient for protecting sensitive government data. Multi-factor multiplication is the standard. There is a need for continuous security monitoring and assessment, critical role of interdepartmental collaboration in cybersecurity, and lastly, significance of user education in preventing credential-based attack. Thank you.